All right, welcome everybody to Subscriber Orientation. We're here with Robert McGorney to help teach you guys how to use the Hedgeye site, how to find all the helpful materials we have up there, and how to use the products you guys already have. So right off the bat, I'll introduce Robert McGorney here. Many of you guys probably already know him from Weekly Notebook Review or Beginner's Guide. Robert, introduce yourself.
Hey, good morning, Stanford. How
Good
we doing
morning.
out there? No, I'm just kidding. I'm good. So I'm the director of subscriber development. I was a former subscriber. Stumbled upon Hedgeye here. Sorry, my audio is coming up on my computer. So
There you
apologies if you
go.
could hear that. But was a subscriber, and I found Hedgeye in March 2020. Took advantage, Matt. I think I've told you this story. I took advantage of a free Macker show that turned into a 30-day trial, and I was hooked. So here we are, about 2.5 years later, and I'm in house, helping everybody at Hedgeye Nation, trying to better understand the process and implement it inside of your own portfolios.
Yep. So this is why it's important. So Robert was a subscriber. Now he's on the inside of Hedgeye, and he is literally here to try and help you guys become better investors. Use our education materials, how to understand the macro show, how to read the slides, how to use risk ranges. All of those items we're going to be pointing out to you. If you haven't already, submit some questions. I believe it's underneath the box there, the video playing. And then on top of that, we have a slide deck in there for you too, with a bunch of helpful links, including one to the Education Center and all of our how-to videos. So let's go through and actually show you how to just use the site and where everything is. So when you log into hedgeye.com with your username and password, pretty important to click Hedgeye at the very top there. That's going to bring you right to your kind of main page here. So on the left, you'll see large here, we have Danielle DiMartino booth up. She's live in the next hour or so on Hedgeye TV. So that's why that one's pinned for you guys. So if you're ever looking for something that is happening today, just go to hedgeye.com and literally just click Hedgeye and it's going to pop in there. On the right, you're going to see your chronological research feed. These are the products that you're actually paying for and have access to. So you're going to see them all here as they are posted. They're going to be put right here for you. Underneath that, anything trending will have. So obviously, it's good
Free,
timing for everybody here.
free
Free all
all
access
access
week.
week, baby.
So there's going to be tons of materials for you guys to dive into, and we'll walk you through some of those as well. If you're looking for individual products that you have already, that menu drop down in the top left. That's really where you want to be going to find anything you're looking for in terms of what you're paying for, or even the arena. So if you're looking to access the arena, it's just right there for you. Links right to it. And obviously going back to hedgeye.com puts you right on that main page again. There is one place here that I think is super important for everybody, and that's going to be the Education Center. Education Center is going to be linking to a lot of helpful guides that we have put together for you. That link is going to be on that slide deck we sent over, and also the emails we sent to you about this event. So right off the bat, it's always important as we have new subscribers coming on board each and every day and each and every week to really explain where we're at in the story. Obviously, telling the story of where we're coming from, where we are right now, and where we're going. Well, you need to know that when you first set up the Hedgeye so you understand what we're saying and what the products we have are. So right off the bat, what we do here in the Education Center is have what we call the current market outlook. That is going to be a deck created by Keith's team that kind of wants to tell a story of what's going on. So I think what a lot of people here need to start off with the framework of Hedgeye is talk a lot about A/B tests.
Yeah.
What's the A in the A/B test?
Yeah, so the A is the VASP, so the volatility
Yep.
adjusted signaling process. That's what keys signal. And then the B is the nowcast model, which
Yep.
also is known as the GIP model or the GIP model or the quads. It's got a few different names, I guess, but really what drives it is so GIP stands for growth, inflation, and policy. And that really drives the quad. So as you can see there, there's 4 quads, basically based on whether or not growth is accelerating or decelerating, and whether or not inflation is accelerating or decelerating. So in terms of the movie that we're in right now, Q3 of 23, which is where we are at the moment, it's kind of oscillating between a little bit of a quad 1 and quad 4. It looks like it's maintaining a quad 1 on paper. And then, Q4 of 23, so next quarter, we're about 8 days, 7 days out from that, just shifted on Monday to a quad 3. So we now are looking at three quad threes for the next 3 quarters. So that'd be Q4 of 23, Q1 of 24, and Q2 of 24. That's kind of the where we're at in the old playbook here in the movie. So in a quad three environment, Matt, just as a reminder, as you can see that up on the screen, that's where growth is slowing, so GDP is decelerating, and inflation is accelerating.
Perfect. So that's the quads, and like I said, there's two parts to the process. You also have VASP, and people ask all the time, well, what is VASP? Well, that's going to be our risk ranges. So for subscribers, hit your menu drop down the top left. If you have access to risk ranges, it's going to be available to you right here. So risk range signals. So you can see today we have actually a couple updates here. We're going to highlight the trend change day over day. Robert, do you want to speak a little bit about this part of the process?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a big kudos because when you were in charge of that earlier this year, you added that trend change. And I think it's a huge value add for subscribers. So that's a call out in terms of what major kind of shifts, so kind of a phase transition, as we like to call it. What's transpiring? So as of this morning, you had a phase transition or a trend change in the VIX, went from neutral to bullish. Copper and silver both went from neutral to bearish. So those are big things that you want to be tracking in your own, however you track it, whether or not you're putting it into Excel or in a notebook or whatever it is. So, as we go down that list, you'll see the individual, I think there's about 25 tickers on there, and you'll see basically the piece of inventory, the security on the left, and then you'll see the ranges on the right there. So for gold, for instance, you'll see that it's spot gold, it's bullish trend, and the risk range is 1904 on the low end of the risk range, otherwise known as the LRR, and 1968 on the top end of the risk range, and then that spot price on the far right there, 1921. So that's kind of how you can read it. I think we review a lot of these. We've reviewed, and I know we're going to get into a beginner's guide, Matt, but we've reviewed kind of how to think through risk ranges, how to kind of better understand signal strength and stuff like that by tracking on a day over day and week over week basis what those top and bottom ends of the risk ranges, or the top and low end of the risk ranges, what are they doing versus that range yesterday and as well as last week. So really big things to track, and whether or not things are making a lower high or lower low, or higher higher and higher low.
Yep. You also see on risk ranges, we're literally going to put videos here for everybody, like how to use risk ranges. So if you have any interest on how to use them, I believe this is a 10-minute video Robert recorded as part of a beginner's guide to help subscribers get started. But going into the Education Center, let's just type that right in there. Boop. One big thing here that we have made, we've made Hedgeye University for everybody as well. So for new subscribers, this is probably the first place you want to go with Hedgeye, is literally go into Hedgeye University and go through and take, I believe it's, 46 lessons over 6 chapters, 43 lessons over 6 chapters. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we actually have quizzes on them too to make sure you're taking them. This modules, we didn't just do this for fun. We did this because we really think that this is how you need to get started with Hedgeye. So we've already run through 2 things, the A/B test. Well, there's a reason why they're in chapter 1, literally 1, 2 right here. So looking for more there, simply go to Hedgeye University, take the test, graduate, and we'll give you actually a free subscription to something you don't have already. So in terms of VASP, if you're looking for risk range signals, if you don't have it right now, just simply graduate Hedgeye University, hit support at hedgeye.com, letting us know you've graduated. We'll turn that on for you too. So you do win by going through and actually taking the graduating here. I think that's pretty important. Diving back into the Education Center, just to highlight some of the resources we have here. On top of Hedgeye University, you're going to see a lot of orientation and beginner content here for you. We've literally tried to put it all together here just for the subscribers. So if you're looking for events, they're all going to be right here listed. So earlier this week, we actually held the macro themes coaching session with Keith. That is a big part of our process where he updates essentially the entire macro themes deck and relays it to you. If you have not watched that, that's linked in here for you. I highly recommend each and every one of you guys goes through and watches that. That was for free for this week. Usually that's only on Hedgeye Risk Manager or Platinum All Access Pass. So in terms of what you can actually see this week on Free All Access Week, start there. You'll see all of our real conversations listed here too. There's over 100 of them now. It's pro to pro with Keith. In terms of depth, you're not going to get better than what we have listed right there. This past week we had Mike Taylor came on. Mike's obviously a big member of Hedgeye Nation.
Oh, absolutely.
And what he brings to the table is great. So having him and Keith sit down for an hour is really insightful. We try to do a couple of these each month. We do them for subscribers. You guys can go ahead and listen to each one of those. It's also available on podcast. So if you're in the car, you can get that too. That's right in iTunes. It's all over the place for that.
Spotify, yeah.
Spotify, yep. Then you have, the main man right here, Robin McGordy. We have 23 episodes of the Beginner's Guide listed here too for you guys. So that's about 23 hours of content that is really how to use Hedgeye. It gets into the weeds, which is good. So as you are gaining momentum with Hedgeye, you can go here and get more in-depth interviews and talks about how to leverage Hedgeye products and Hedgeye research to your advantage.
Yeah, I think a big thing there, Matt, is that it wasn't questions that I came up with that I was trying to answer. It was actually answering questions from subscribers that we got either on the arena or via Twitter, even some emails into support. So, it was really kind of, subscriber-based questions that I was taking the time to answer. Each episode, basically answered anywhere from 3 to 5 questions. And we actually clipped those out for everybody at home for kind of trying to make the consumption a little bit easier. So you can find those all on the Hedgeye YouTube channel, Matt.
Yep.
And I think you're going to take them to there in a minute, but we've actually subdivided them into 4 different playlists with kind of key topics. So hopefully you'll find that really, really helpful.
Yeah, so just click on Beginner's Guide on YouTube.
And I think Beginner's Guide too, Matt, we've joked. It's probably,
not a Beginner's Guide.
It's not really a Beginner's Guide. It's more of kind of, it's I think you dubbed it correctly. It's a deep dive. It's like you start with Hedgeye University, you can move on to then, Beginner's Guide, and it gives you, it kind of gives you that next level up. And then you can, start to pop onto the weekly notebook review, which is live on Twitter Spaces, which I host with Hedgeye Nation. And that's where we can have a lot more kind of additional kind of, back and forth dialogue and stuff like that. And you can listen, I have the pleasure of hosting a number of, Hedgeye Jedis, as we like to call them, inside of within Hedgeye Nation. And yeah, we kind of go, go deep into how we're executing on the process in our portfolios.
Yep. You can see what's available. We've cut them all up for you guys. There's actually 4 different playlists we built, and this one here is just leveraging Hedgeye products. Things like people have these questions pretty frequently, especially for the newbies. Multiple dots within real-time alerts. What does that mean? You'll see it in the module in there, and here we are, 6-minute explanation as to exactly what they mean and how to use it to your advantage. Diving back into the Education Center, we have Keith's reading list. You'll see them referenced quite a bit on the early looker and the macro show. We just simply keep his top 10 list here for everybody as well. We also have a couple process videos that are here. This is 14 minutes on Keith and how to understand the Hedgeye macro process. Can't recommend that one enough. That's 14 minutes well spent. You have some orientations here that Robert and I are holding. Scroll down further.
Is that Inception right there? Do we just
We're also going to have this week's events at Hedgeye. So right now, like Robert and I mentioned before, we're in the middle of Free All Access Week, which is we host this about 2 or 3 times a year. We literally tear down tear down that paywall and give everybody access to just about everything. When we bring in a large group of subscribers, we want to make sure people are on the right products that actually benefit them. So you have the right tools in the toolbox for part of your process. So that's why we actually go through and do that. We're going to jump into that in just a minute. But in terms of what's coming up, like we said before, we have the real conversation with Danielle D. Martina Booth at noon today. That's free access right here. And the one earlier this week we had with Mike Taylor. All that stuff can be accessed right here. So in terms of if you want to save this URL, highly recommend bookmarking it, because we are updating this pretty frequently, making sure you guys are aware of the events we have upcoming and the events we have had in the past. So you'll find that complete list right here. So that's the Education Center. So I think it's time to talk about some products that we have with the Free All Access Week. Just simply dive into this here. You can access it in the Education Center. Also, remember, click hedgeye.com, click the Hedgeye at the very top. It's going to be posted right here for you too. So going through this all access week, we have a bunch of helpful links for everybody, but we break it up by how much research we're posting by day. So right now we're on Thursday. But that macro themes coaching session I referenced earlier, there's a direct link to it right here. Same with Mike Taylor. Same with the Danielle DiMartino booth deep dive we have coming up here at noon. So diving into the products, each day we're literally linking everything we have here. So the early look, macro show, ETF Pro Plus, the call, risk range signals, investing ideas, market edges, and market situation report with our partner Tier 1. If you're not sure which product's the best fit for you, this is where you want to be. So if you don't have access to the early look, you're going to miss something on Monday that Keith highlights exactly our positioning with and how to use inflation. So Robert, we have, you having been a former subscriber, now you're on the inside of Hedgeye. Where would you recommend, especially with free all access week right here, people really start spending time? Like, where did you start spending time to start understanding the process? And
Yeah, it's a great question. So for me, there's kind of always three things I always did, and again, just for full transparency, I had, I was working a job, while I was kind of managing my wife's and my kind of retirement account for the most part. It was our kind of largest, pool of capital, and that's kind of how I was deploying, Hedgeye. And so this is where, so again, so every day it would be write down the risk ranges, read the early look, and watch the macro show. Now, macro show wouldn't always catch at 9 a.m. But if you don't have access, usually have access to that. I think going back through and watching each of the macro shows from this week, from Monday to this morning, you're going to get quite a great education from Keith. I mean, his commentary this morning on NVIDIA and how to think through really important levels there, and how it was just broke trend yesterday for the first time. I think that's a crucial thing. In there, you're going to get kind of the slide deck as well, where we really highlight and put in a lot of the most important information that the team is reviewing, right, every single morning. So whether it be the top three things, which Matt just kind of scrolled through there, and then kind of the process oriented stuff. So the quads, eyeball table, the different levels of volatility, expected values by quad regime. Position sizing is a huge one. That's how Keith started off the coaching session on Monday for the macro themes. He reviewed kind of position sizing, longs bigger than your shorts, understanding the different dynamics there and what makes sense for you. So that presentation, or that deck, is a crucial piece in terms of it's the risk ranges on kind of like one side of my notebook, and then it's kind of price volume and kind of volatility components out of the macro show deck that I write kind of down on the left hand side. You've got the US dollar correlation. We obviously are also including the tier 1 alpha stuff in terms of where the gamma flip line is. So we're currently in negative gamma, and yeah, so I think that's like a big way to start. So I think the macro show is certainly a fantastic place to go. So they've been for 30 minutes, so you have basically about 2 hours of content that you can try to consume at some point between now and the end of the week. And then after that, it would be making sure to go walk through the early looks. So on Monday mornings, Keith does the kind of like the global macro early look. That really helped drive me in terms of help me perfect or sort of like narrow down what to look at on week during my weekend work. So if you'll notice, it's a very similar cadence every single Monday. If you go read that one and read last week's and the weeks before, he basically touches on FX, then commodities, bonds, commodities, and then equities. So he kind of goes through that similar band. So I think that'd be two really key places to start in terms of, and again, the early look is sort of comes out typically by kind of 8 a.m. On most days, and it's a great way of just getting inside the mind of either Keith or if it's written by another member of the team. What's kind of, what are we thinking about here internally, and what's sort of the biggest things to be thinking about as you go into that day and that kind of thing. So those are great components. I know you also get access to the call during this week, during free access week. I'm going to talk about just a meeting of the minds in terms of guys that have absolute massive knowledge in their own individual sectors, and then kind of guided every morning with questions, et cetera, from Keith, who's a 25-year, basically hedge fund veteran, right? So I think that's another great place to be. I mean, there's unfortunately there's like so like not unfortunately, but there's a lot of content in Free Access Week, so just taking advantage of it, right? Like take advantage of the opportunity to review different products. If you like one, go give it a try for 30 days. This is a great time to do it. Typically, there are Black Friday or kind of, November type sales are our best pricing of the year. And that's where I always took advantage of kind of, upgrading from, I think I started on what's the, it goes risk, so Macro Pro, Risk Manager, what's the other one?
Elite Pass.
Elite Pass. So I started on Elite Pass the first year, graduated to Risk Manager the following year, took advantage of those Black Friday sales. But I think as you get deeper and deeper into the product set, you'll notice that one tool really compounds on the other, right? And so you end up wanting to have a much more robust toolbox in order to execute at the highest stability inside of your portfolios.
So we have a couple more things we can run through here. One is I do want to run through the account. This allows you to really customize your subscription and set you up for really what you want to see via email settings and not. So just click account in the top right, and you can check off what you want to actually come across. Obviously, you need to have access to it to have that notification show up. But you can go through and deselect and select which ones you want coming across. Managed subscriptions is available. There's always more levels of products that we have. Simply slidey bars you can add and remove there. Update any of your credit card information. And then on top of that, you also have any receipts that are available to you here too. So a lot of people do expense their subscriptions. So you can easily download your receipt right there. Any questions on that? Simply, and it's not working correctly for you or you need a little bit more, hit support at hedgeye.com. Alex, Jamie, and Danny are here to help you there. One other place, I highlighted it a little bit earlier, is the Arena. This is our members only discussion board. You can post in here, and there's a lot of people in here that are going to be replying with answers. Think of this as like Reddit on steroids, but only for Hedgeye subscribers. I think it's a good way to describe it. Lots of replies, lots of views, lots of activity in here. We have sector heads popping in here pretty frequently as well. We post a lot of videos in here and helpful content in here as well. You can see right here, we've talked a lot about risk ranges. We have a board just for risk range subscribers. Essentially, the people are going in here and asking questions. So I recommend you going in there, posting questions if you have them. If you have other questions, feel free to put it in the chat below. I'm not sure if we have questions yet.
We do have a few, yep.
Oh, so we tell you what, let's stop there. Let's start hammering out some of these questions.
Yeah. So just on the account that we've already kind of mentioned this a couple of times, but there's certainly a couple different aspects as well. Just want to highlight there's a Red Eye Green Eye app that is absolutely free. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms, so inside of the app stores. So make sure you go download that. That is currently on the SPY, so SPY. Keith's signal basically gives you 3 different indicators: long, snoozing, Z, kind of like neutral, and then sell for short. So we're currently in sell mode there, but that's a super value add, in my humble opinion, on the app standpoint. And then if you do have real-time alerts as a subscriber, there's also an app there as well where you can get notifications on your phone. Comes through, you can go download that, and that's a big time. Also another kind of value add product, so that so you're not waiting necessarily on the email to come through, but at the same time, real-time alerts is one tab that I always have open on my desktop here or on my computer, and basically anytime I get the alert, I go over to it, click refresh, and I go read those coaching notes, right? So a lot of times inside of real-time alerts, I don't want to say it's less about the piece of inventory, because that's not totally true, but Keith has adjusted that real-time alerts product to include coaching notes throughout the day, which really again gives you insights into what he's thinking about, what he's seeing on the board, and how to kind of leverage that, right? So we actually discussed a little bit yesterday on the weekly notebook review, Matt, which is live. One of the questions was, when is it live? It's live on Wednesdays, and so time trying to get back to a more regular schedule. Usually it's between kind of either 4:30 or 8:30, so at 12:30, 4:30, or 8:30. I think next week is going to be a noon session, just because of schedules and stuff like that. So look for that. I'll tweet that out and certainly get that kind of in place. So it'll likely be 12:30 next Wednesday. That's 12:30 Eastern. And yeah, so anyway, but the weekly notebook review, we actually talked about kind of how to um, uh, discern or kind of read through some of the moves and decisions that Keith's making. And part of that is, what, and we've talked about this, I think even a beginner's guide is like, what is he hitting on the button on, right? Is it a small cap? Is it a large cap? Excuse me. Is it high beta, low beta? Excuse me. Where is it, right? Is he hitting it on like something that has, Asian exposure or Japanese exposure? Is it something that is, U.S. focused, like a retailer, or, what sector is it in? And then that can help guide you in terms of, you might not short, Horizon, HZO, right, which is a Marine Max, Marine Max, but that's Keith hitting the button on a kind of small cap, on a smaller-ish cap retailer that has a high exposure to kind of luxury goods, and so and basically discretionary spending. So you can use that information to kind of go and maybe short something that you might think is at the top end of the risk range, that fits your kind of criteria a bit more, or just to go and review kind of where is XRT at the moment, and could it be a good opportunity kind of to short retailers in general. So I think that's an important component. So Diana, that was the question you had. When is the live notebook review? It's on Wednesdays on Twitter Spaces. That's where you can participate live and listen live, and then we post it on basically across all platforms. So the Hedgeye YouTube channel, the Apple and Spotify podcast channel. So it'll be up across that. Brian from Cali had another question here. It says, I've been with Macro Pro since April, but I'm having trouble understanding how to read the implied and realized volatility table and how to apply that information. Could you go over that? So oddly enough, Brian, that was actually a question on the notebook review last night. So I did kind of answer it to a little bit more a degree there. So I'm not trying to like send you a different direction, but it's just actually a really good opportunity to also highlight a beginner's guide. So Matt, if you don't mind pulling that up.
Yep.
Again, I just want to kind of walk some people through, I believe it's in learning the process or leveraging
We also have it on Twitter.
products.
So it's available. If you guys follow at Hedgeye RJM, that's McGordy right here.
Yep.
So it's literally on his Twitter feed. That's open and available to anybody on Twitter. I think that follows you.
Yeah,
So
no, it is. Yeah, it's open to anybody. They don't actually have to follow me, but by all means, you can follow me. But yeah, it's just available. So if we scroll down there, I think I do at least 2 or 3 different eyeball table
Yep.
discussions. So there's one right there. It's about 4 minutes long, and then there's at least 1 or 2 other ones as well. But basically, kind of go through that. I think I give I kind of run through. We unfortunately, Brian, just don't really have time this morning to kind of do that. But I do a pretty in-depth review and walkthrough of the eyeball table, and then as I said, we do kind of mention it last night on the notebook review as well.
Yep.
So the last question is from Tim. It says, I missed the start of your Japan call. What do you recommend I do to catch up?
It's a good question.
It's a great question, Tim. Unfortunately, I don't love your wording, to be honest. I missed the start of your Japan call. There's really, we are full cycle investors here, but there's no real, we don't really do calls, right? We're signal based. It's all about the data, and in this case with Japan, the signal, which is bullish trade and trend, is matching up with the nowcast model and the quad outlook, which is basically quad 1s and 2s. So you haven't really missed anything. It's just a matter of how comfortable you paying up in price where you think you may have missed something, right? So I think just kind of rejigger the brain in terms of like how you're thinking about things. Something that's bullish trade and trend and making higher highs and higher lows has a higher probability of continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. So you're going to feel like price is running away from you. But that is actually the momentum that you want to have in your portfolio. And all of a sudden you might feel, and we don't really love feelings around here, but you might feel like, it's up already 10%, how could it go up more? And all of a sudden, it's up another 10%. You're like, well, shit, why didn't I buy it? And now you're kind of sitting on your hands trying to gauge what's happening. Although it's pulling back today, Keith did not add any Japan into the Macro Pro re-rank product, but that's another great way of gauging when to perhaps add to Japan is, looking at that re-rank product, which we're actually going to rebrand here in the next few weeks as Portfolio Solutions, and that's going to be available in Macro Pro as well. So kind of like look for that sort of like rejiggering of what that looks like and that product looks like. But my point is that that's a great indicator in terms of like, when is Keith adding it into his long only account? It could be a great opportunity to sort of start building up certainly a minimum size position, but perhaps like building it up beyond that. But in that re-rank, it's ranked by size, and it shows you kind of where it is in sizing. So just to give you an idea, and apologies, I got pulled into a meeting, so I didn't get a chance to write down the re-rank before I came in here.
I've got it pulled up. Jen, I have to throw my screen up there.
So Japan, you got the re-rank up there?
Yeah.
Oh, is that today's?
Yep.
Okay. So you can see there that Japan is sitting kind of, to the top, basically kind of like the middle third of the pack there, kind of right below India and energy. So you've got sort of two big fixed income asset allocations in T-bill and TFLO. He actually added 200 basis points in treasury floating treasuries this morning. And then you got the dollar, energy, another energy exposure in terms of oil and gas exploration. And then it goes into our two core, basically Asian longs, which are India and Japan. So you've got INDY and then INDA there. And then we even have small cap India down on the as you go down that list. So Japan is kind of right in the middle of the pack-ish in terms of the couple different exposures. So not saying that we wouldn't be adding to it. We do like adding to things on red, but this is a great opportunity. He actually bought XLE and INDA this morning versus buying any of the Japanese exposures. But at the same time, though, we have 4 ETFs there, and if you took those, if you go back to the sizing component, we could take those to 6. So, he could, if we're at max total, he could have 24% exposure. So, it's possible that Keith is just saying, okay, I like where I'm sitting at right now across my exposures. Let's just give it a minute to breathe. And if you pull up the risk range on the Nikkei, you would know that you basically have another kind of, about 2.5% downside. If let's just see.
Yeah, it's pulled up right here.
Yes, you got about 2.5% downside to the low end of the risk range. So have some patience, right? Have some patience. But that's certainly one that we really like, and if you listen to anything that David Salem has shared, I know he had kind of an introduction to his new capital allocation product a couple weeks ago, and he's been on the macro show over the course of the last few weeks as well. Japan really lines up from a longer term tail duration outlook too. So don't ever feel like you've missed something. Just be patient. Track those risk ranges diligently. Look for those higher highs and higher lows. That's what the Nikkei has been doing, in recent sort of days and weeks, which is why it really put in basically didn't put in a all-time high, but it certainly pushed back up there to most recent. It was 1 month highs and most recent close to 3 months highs. That was just this past Friday, right? So that was September 15th, and now we're getting a little bit of a pullback. So you could have a good opportunity here to buy some, but just stick with the patience. And I think if you're looking at what Keith is reviewing at the moment, he's seeing better opportunities on the energy complex. So he added UGA in real-time alerts yesterday. We did sell some today, but energy XLE was added. XOP still on the board on real-time alerts. So that energy complex, I think, in the inflationary trade with 3 quad 3s on the horizon, that could be a really great opportunity to kind of gross up your book there.
So if you guys don't have access and the tools we just showed you, like Macro Pro, the re-rank, graduate Hedgeye University. That's always what we try and tell everybody. Go and graduate. Send an email to support, and we'll turn on access for you. So I think with that, that's the end. Please send your send your feedback to support. Hopefully it is supportive feedback, but send it in. We want to make this show as useful to new subscribers as possible. If there's topics we're not covering and you really want it covered, hit support at hedgeye.com and we will add that segment. So with that,
Yeah, and you can also, again, like if you got questions that, in between sessions or between now and next week, go into the arena too, right? Tag me. I think I'm listed as Hedgeye RGM. Where am I?
makes sense.
I think. 1 second. Shoot, I've been logged out. No, I was just in there this morning. Where am I? All right, let's see. Who am I? Who am I, Genron? Who am I? Just tag me. Just write McGroarty. It'll pop up for you. I can't figure this out. But go into the arena. Tag me in questions. We'll try to answer them. Yeah, Matt. So thanks again for being a great host, and look forward to next week.
We'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye.